I asked the coach, like, what would I need to do to run 20 point in the 200? And the man said, you're not gonna run it. He said, but if you do wanna run it, you're gonna have to stay in the weight room and you're gonna have to build up your fitness level. So that whole summer, I was in the gym 2 hours. You know, every day I was running long runs. I refused to let anybody tell me I couldn't do something. Don't give anybody that much power over your life. You know, if you want something, go out there and go get it. You know, and be about it. And so that she put that in me, you know, on top of me switching into this whole training harder, training smarter, being more responding to the coach and like being more coachable.
Well, thank you for tuning in to the Unlimited Power Show. Today I have the absolute pleasure of introducing to you the one and only Jayson Jones. And like I always say, I do not introduce anyone to the Unlimited Power Show, right? Since we have unlimited power, you have the unlimited power to introduce yourself.
What's up, y'all? My name is Jayson Jones. I am a business owner. I am a 2-time Olympian, track and field, and I'm a holder of unlimited power, just like Ed himself, you know? So I'm here to share some great insights, answer some questions, and just inspire and motivate like I always do.
That's what's up. You know, I've always wanted to go to the Olympics. It was one of my dreams, one of many of my dreams,
Right.
But it didn't happen. And when I ran track in high school, I think the reason why I didn't really go so far is because I was like the best one within what I was doing, so I didn't have anything to push me.
Right.
So, I mean, when did you start running, you know?
I wasn't even the fastest kid on my track team in high school. I was probably number 3, maybe 4 on my track team. I wanted to play football. I just never grew to the football size that I wanted to. And I actually got hurt my senior year in high school playing football. And the doctors told me that I couldn't play sports ever again because I busted my spleen. And the rehab was to do something. So I said, I'll run track. And my senior year, I ran pretty fast. I was invited to walk on at Florida State. Walked on at Florida State, earned a scholarship, and just kind of grew from there.
Where did you run your senior year?
I ran the 100, the 200, the 4x1, and the sprint medley relay.
So you're one of those fast guys.
Yeah, but in high school, again, I was, you know, you got to think, I mean, I graduated years ago, and I grew up as a military kid. And so we grew up in Germany. Germany, the competition over there on the military side was not like it is here in South Florida or in Texas or in California. So the fastest guy in Europe was like a 10.9 in the 100 meters. So I was coming out of high school running like 11 flat. And that was fast back then.
Yeah.
It's never fast at all under any circumstances when you think about it. But that's how it was over there.
What school was that?
Heidelberg High School, Heidelberg American High School in Germany. They've since closed the base and there's no military presence in Germany as it was when I was going to school. So they've kind of shifted their presence from Europe to, I think, Africa. I think that's where they are.
How is it like in Germany?
I mean, it's awesome. You know, believe it or not, there's really friendly culture. They love, for the most part, they love Americans. It's a cool feeling over there. It gets really cold. It's like really cold.
What was your journey to making it to the Olympics, and how is it like?
So the journey, again, it had to start my senior year in high school. You know, I was an invited walk-on, again, coming from running 11 seconds to going to Florida State when the slowest guy was a 10.4 guy. They invited me to walk on, but I had to almost like run on the JV team in college, which Florida State doesn't have a JV team, but they have a team that doesn't travel, but does train. So I was like in the pack of just training athletes, and I was running with the girl group And I just said, man, this is not what I wanted to come to college to do. I, want to be like the best in the world. I know I have it in me. What do I have to do? And I just kind of worked my way up to the front of that group. And then when I earned my scholarship, like the summer before my junior year, I asked the coach, what will I need to do to run 20 point in the 200? And the man said, you're not going to run it. He said, but if you do want to run it, you're going to have to stay in the weight room and you're going to have to build up your fitness level. So that whole summer, I was in the gym 2 hours. Every day I was running long runs. I refused to let anybody tell me I couldn't do something. And he did it kind of reverse psychology, but low key, I believe he believed that. I know I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And that season, I came into the season, the fall, I was like in the best shape. I think I ran for a time trial 800, I ran 156 for a time trial. I ran 33 seconds in a 300 time trial. So I was on point, and I earned that scholarship. And just from there, my uncle was in the federation for Belize. That's who I ran for. So he was in the national federation in Belize, and he said his nephew runs track, and as simple as sending me a picture. They said, send me a picture. I sent them a picture. They sent me my passport, and I started running for Belize, the national team, from competition to competition. And then come 2000, when I graduated, I earned the ability to go to run in Sydney, Australia. So Belize didn't have a big team, so it was just myself and one other female, and we got in and we competed.
And how old were you at the time?
So when I went, I graduated. So I stayed in school 5 years. I redshirted my freshman year, and I stayed in school for 4 years. So it took me 5 years to graduate, not because I needed it, because I just was trying to compete as long as I could.
Right.
So I was like 23 when I went to my first Olympics. And then my junior year, I had a better year than my senior year. My senior year was one of these tough years. We lost our strength and conditioning coach. My training was different. I pledged the fall of my senior year, which threw my training completely off. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather passed New Year's Eve, 1999. My sister died January 23rd, 2000, but I graduated in April of 2000, and the Olympics was in 2000. So that 2000 season was horrible. I was running slow, but I still qualified for the Olympics. But I wasn't as fit and as fast as I was the year prior. So it was a little discouraging that I didn't go as far in the Olympics as I had wanted to, as I had trained towards, but it didn't stop me. I kept on fighting and kept on trying. I made it to Europe to run in 2004. So I stayed running track. Made it to Europe in 2004, raced, tried to qualify for Athens, didn't qualify for Athens, but stayed in the sport, stayed running. Very, very tough sport, non-forgiving. It's very difficult to run and make peanuts and live life like that, but I qualified for the 2008 Olympics. And everybody had talked about Usain Bolt and this the Jamaican team and how they're going to be the team to beat. I was in great shape. I had in 2005 I had run like 10:08 in the 100, so I was ready fast. I knew I was ready to go. I was a 20-pointer. Mm-hmm. Going into my 2008 season, I was running 20 points. So I was ready to rock and roll. I just didn't advance to the finals like I had desired to, but it taught me a lot. It built a lot of character. I overcame a lot of challenges. My body was getting older. I was racing in a young man's sport, but I was able to compete.
Yeah, how did you handle that?
It's tough, I wrote a lot in my journals. I would hype my own self up. I would write to myself so that if I ever wanted to read what was my mindset at that time, I would go back and look at my journal entries, and I would always write as if I'm talking to somebody. And so today was good, practice was great, we did this, 4 times 100, 4 times this, and then at the end, I would sign it, world record holder, Jayson Jones, Olympic champ, Jayson Jones. Like, that's how I would sign every one of my journal entries.
Yeah.
Try to stay inspired and encouraged. You know, I have a lot of these things around at the time I had it all around my house, like all these motivational posts and what I wanted to run, the time I wanted to run, the company I wanted to run for, the shoe contract, the volume, like all these visual aids I used. I mean, I still use it to this day, but that's how I stayed committed.
That's great. That's really great. And I can only imagine, man, because I know the feeling of just stepping into the track, and track runners know the smell of the track.
Correct.
Like, you can smell it.
Yes.
It's just like you could smell whatever profession you're doing too. Like it has everything kind of have a scent to it.
Right.
Like when I became a trainer, and you did become a trainer as well,
I did,
right?
yes.
Where like the gym had a certain smell to it,
right.
you know, or like being around equipment just had a certain scent.
Yeah.
So what's your transition from being an athlete into like your professional career like?
So it was a challenge. I mean, a lot of us athletes have a hard time, you know, breaking out of that mentality that it's our bodies that make us successful, you know. And it was a while. I mean, when I was in California, I was a personal trainer. I trained a lot of celebrities, a lot of former athletes. I mean, a lot of current athletes at the time, because every athlete wants to run track, and not really run track, but always every athlete wants to run fast, and they respect all track athletes. So I would train athletes, and I train, you know, general population. But going from running track, the natural progression of running track is to train people. I mean, we get the best training in the world, and general population doesn't have that luxury. So like that's the natural progression. But unless you get a really good clientele base, it's going to be very difficult for you to earn the type of money that you want for the time and effort that you're putting out. And so, you know, having a family, having kids, it's very difficult to deal with the up and down of the personal training world. And yeah, you can go and work for a major corporation and they'll pay you a tenth, you know, 10%, 20% of what you're actually worth, and you're making them all the money. Like, you could do that, or you can start your own business.
Yeah.
So I transitioned out of working for a company to work for myself in the personal training space, because I didn't like the fact that to make really good money in the gyms, you had to sell training, but you couldn't sell training and train at the same time. And I never liked to sell somebody on training and then I couldn't train them.
Yeah.
So I would sell them on training, on my type of training, but then hand them off to somebody else that I felt like maybe doesn't have the level of passion, the knowledge, or even the commitment to the client. And I didn't like that, but that's where the money was at, sales. Sales is where the money is at. So I said, well, instead of selling somebody else's services, let me sell my own. And the transition from going from sports into training with a gym to doing it for myself was still a major transition.
Yeah.
Because now you have to, you know, figure out how you can talk to people. How are you going to do it in a gym? Are you going to do it outside? Are you going to go to their house? Like, all of that stuff. I didn't have a business degree. My degree was in computers. You know, I have a master's in information technology. So learning about business was all like figuring it out myself. I did a lot of research, watching, learning, talking to the people that were doing it, and kind of just trial and error. So I transitioned out of the fitness world when 1 year I got my taxes done by a gentleman who was a lot younger than me. I felt like less brilliant than I was, and he was making really good money. And he was driving a Bentley at the time. So I was like, tell me what you do. Like, tell me what you do. And, you know, what degrees do you have? And he was just like, I just learned how to do taxes, and I do taxes. And I was like, that's it? Oh, I could do that. You know, and I went and worked for somebody. Again, because I didn't know, so I learned.
Yeah.
So I went and worked for somebody. In that 1 year, I did made like 22 grand. but I had to half that because I was on the 50-50 split with this other group of people. And I would still probably be working with them probably for another year, but I ran into this place where my FPL bill was like $300. And my commission for that week was like $300 full, but they were going to give me a $150 check. So I said, hey, I know I'm on a 50-50 split, but my light bill is due today, this week. Can I get my full check and then you can take the other $150 out the next time I get paid? And they were like, nope, here's your $150, keep it moving. So I said at that point, I'll never let anybody control my destiny again.
Yeah.
Like ever again. And
that's when you had it.
That was my defining turning point. Like, you don't have that power. Yeah. Same thing like my coach years ago. Like, you don't have that power.
You don't have that power.
You know what I mean? So I went from my first year just sending out text messages, hey, I do taxes, who does your taxes? To I did like 75 returns the first year. And then I buddied up with one of my buddies, partnered up with him. And year one of my own business, we did almost 1,000 returns.
Wow.
So I went from like 75, my personal grew to like almost 400 for my year. So like I did 75 working for that company. I took my same 75 and multiplied that into about 400, partnered up with my buddy. Him and his partner brought in, 600 or so. And we did almost 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
So what kind of kept you going, because sometimes when a lot of people respond to people telling them they can't do something with, okay, maybe he's right. Or somebody says, okay, I got to give you 150 this week, but I won't give you the rest until next week. So, well, that's how it is. That's business. So
right.
What aspect of your character had you say, this is not me? I think it really came from being an athlete, really.
Well, you got to think, as an athlete, we're always given challenges.
Yeah.
And you're always given a challenge, and you have to respond to the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, with every sport, but I have to speak on my sport, the coaches say, hey, this is the workout. You have 4 times 1,000. This is the time you have to meet. And if you don't meet the time, you're going to run more. So you have to learn how to take a challenge, look within yourself and say, how will I accomplish that challenge, and how can I do it at the most efficient way? And no matter what, you have to get it done.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get it done, it won't get done, but then you're failing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So with the $150 or my coach saying, you're not going to run fast, I look at that as a challenge. Like, what gives you the power? And I left the part of the story out, my track coach story. So at Florida State, one of the alumni, her name is Kim Batten. She was the 1996 silver medalist in the 400 hurdles. She was still at Florida State when I was there training. And I remember, talking to her, like, how did you become so good? Like, what did you do? And like, I don't think he cares about me, you know what I mean? And she was just like, Jayson, this is a Olympic medalist. Jayson, don't ever let anybody take that power from you.
Yeah.
Like, that was something, I was 19 years old, it was a female and she was successful, and she was saying, don't give anybody that much power over your life. If you want something, go out there and go get it. And be about it. And so that she put that in me, on top of me switching into this whole training harder, training smarter, being more responding to the coach, and like being more coachable. That's the same thing. Like, when it comes to business, you have to find somebody who's doing it, be moldable, be coachable, and don't be afraid to learn.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning to this day.
Yeah. I think life.
To
hear about Jayson Jones' tips for financial literacy, please be sure to tune in next week for part 2 of this interview. And remember, you have unlimited power within you, but only you can release that. And until you do that, the world will forever miss your talents, your gifts, and all the great things that you have to offer. Thank you for tuning in.